Hi there, folks. My name's Mike, and welcome to my VIM Masterclass. This is a class where I'm going to teach you all of the basics that I would want a beginner to know in VIM. VIM is a really powerful text editor that's going to improve your productivity and allow you to edit text, or source code, configuration files, or whatever you may need to be very fast and faster than an IDE. It does take some practice, however. In this quick course, I want to show you all of the basic skills that you would need to do. This is what I wish I would have had as a student, a refresher or a crash course into learning the essentials. You might need to practice a little bit, but I'm going to show you the basics of how to edit a file here in the next moments. So, what do you need? Well, you need Vim installed. I'll assume that you're able to figure out how to do that. Otherwise, you can look for various tutorials, which I'll link in the description below for how to proceed there. Other than that, let's go ahead and get started, and I hope you're excited to learn how to edit text at lightning speeds with the Vim text editor. Let's begin learning Vim. Just as a note to you users, I'm using a plugin called Screen Key that's going to echo back whatever I type towards the bottom of the screen. That way you can see all the key presses that I make throughout this lesson. So, to start Vim, we can start by just typing in Vim and enter. When you do this, you'll see what version you're currently using. I'm going to be using version 8. Most versions of Vim that you're going to be using will be fine. A nice part about Vim is if you're using a Unix system, I'm on Ubuntu, then Vim will be available. It's standard and available. It's another great reason to learn Vim, because you know the tool will be available on nearly any system that you use it. For Mac users, you also likely have Vim installed or can install it through Brew, and Windows users as well can find various versions of Vim to download. So first, let's create a new Vim file. I'm going to go ahead and hit colon and then Q to quit this file. The typical way I create a new file in Vim is to type in Vim and the new file that I want to create. In this example, I'm going to be creating C files for the C programming language. It doesn't matter what version you use. In fact, I'll change it to a different language later. So let's go ahead and create our Hello World program. So it looks something like this. Now, how did I achieve this? One of the things to know about Vim is when you first start the program, you have to hit I, which puts you in insertion mode. As soon as you hit I, then you can start typing and moving around with the arrow keys to different places on the screen. To get rid of insertion mode and go back to the regular mode, you can hit escape. And you'll see at the bottom left corner, you're no longer in insertion mode. And if I just start typing, well, whatever I typed will be performing different Vim actions. That's something to get used to in Vim. There's different modes in Vim. There's insert mode, which we're currently in, as indicated in the bottom left corner. Normal mode, when you hit escape. Command mode, when you hit Q, so you can type commands. You can type commands here. And visual mode, I'll be showing you later, which lets you highlight blocks of text in different ways. Okay, so let's just continue with the basics, however. So I'm going to hit I and continue editing in insertion mode. And I'm just moving around with the arrows right now to start typing out my Hello World program. So you can use this just like a normal text editor or like you would with Notepad. But if you're used to using other text editors, you'll notice I'm not clicking around. This is one of the reasons to use Vim. It's just very fast. So let's just go ahead and do this. Now, I'm going to hit escape and go into command mode by hitting the colon key. If I want to save this file, I type in W. This writes the file to disk. So W you can remember as write to file or save. And you'll see at the bottom left corner, our file that we loaded and are currently using has been written to disk and thus saved. So let's go ahead and quit. I'll hit colon again to enter command mode and Q to quit. And I've exited Vim. Now I can preview this file. I'll use a terminal command to do this, new file. And we can see that our file has been modified here. Okay, and now I can compile this file as I would with a language. For C, I'll use the GCC compiler, and we can run our program. Okay, let's say we want to make some other edits. So we can reopen that file again by using Vim to open the file. This time, though, I'm just going to launch Vim, and I'll hit colon to enter command mode, E for edit, and then the file that we want to edit, new file. So this brings up our file so we can resume editing our file. Okay, let's go ahead and add some more to this program and learn a little bit more about Vim and the different modes. Now, one thing I want to introduce in Vim is this idea of navigation, because we can use the arrow keys to move around, but typically programmers in Vim will use keys like H, J, K, and L to move around. J moves us down, K up, L to the right, and H to the left. Okay, so let's see that again. K moves us down, L to the right, H to the left, then L again to the right, K up, J down. This might take some getting used to, and in fact, I'll sometimes hop back and forth between the arrow keys, but it's one way to navigate, again, reducing the time that you have to move your fingers from your right hand to the arrow keys back to the home row. Okay, so that's something to keep in mind. Other ways that we can move around are using things like GG, which moves you to the top, or Shift-G, which moves you to the bottom. Something you're going to notice in Vim is there's also a difference between when you capitalize something, the inverse operation is usually to do the capitalization. So G, lowercase g twice, and capital G can move you to the top or bottom of the file as you quickly navigate around. Okay, let's go ahead and add some more code to this file so that we can make things a little bit more interesting. So let's add a few functions here. And I'm just going to have it print out some more messages to do something interesting. Foo call. Okay, and let's actually copy this a couple times. Now, how do we copy in Vim? Well, for this, a convenient mode is to enter visual mode. So I do that by doing V. I can just type in V itself, and I will enter in visual mode, and I can select different types of text. That's the purpose of the visual mode. I'll hit escape again to exit visual mode, and you'll notice in the bottom right corner, we're in our normal mode. Let's try again with V. Lowercase v will allow me to shift and select individual characters, or I can use Shift V, again thinking about capitalization, to select a whole row at a time. Now, if I want to copy this line, I can press Y to yank the line and then paste several times with the P command. And this is how I can do copy and paste in Vim. Okay, so now our file is getting a little bit bigger, and let's go ahead and navigate to our main function. Now, I might want to reduce the number of keystrokes I'm doing, so the number of times that I have to press the J key, for instance, to move down, or the down arrow. But I can do this by doing the Shift H, which moves me to the top of the screen, Shift M, which moves me to the middle, or Shift L, which moves me towards the bottom. This is, again, a convenient way to move around the screen. Okay, so let's go ahead and copy this foo function and practice our visual mode. So my cursor's at line 31, and I can move towards our target, so towards the high point by doing Shift H, or I can move to a specific line by just doing colon and then the line number, 2. And now I'm at line 2. I'm going to hit Shift V, and then I can move down using the arrow keys, or H, J, K, and L to navigate. But again, I can combine this with the different ways to select, such as doing Shift L, which moves you towards the lower end of the screen. Now, I didn't want all of this function, so I'm going to hit the up arrow a few times and just copy this range. I'm going to hit Y to yank, and then I'll move again down to, let's say, line 25. So I can type in line 25 here, and then P to paste. Okay, now let's modify our function foo and call it bar here. Okay, so this is our second function. Now, we want to change, because this is a new function, all of the text to be something else. We no longer want this to be foo, but rather bar, because this is the function that's been called. So how can I do this? Well, Vim also has a convenient way to copy and paste text like we've done, but it's also handy if we can search and replace for text. Now, I'm going to select from this block of code. Now, within the bar function, I want to just change or only do the replacement of foo within this section. I don't want to replace anything here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go up to bar, and I'm actually going to highlight over the bracket and hit the % sign. Okay, and this will bring me to the bottom of this function. Depending on your language, and Vim supports most languages, you'll be able to move between the top and the bottom or the scope of this function. So by pressing Shift and the % sign, or just the % sign, you can see the cursor moving back and forth between line 26 and 48. So this is the range we want to do our search and replace. It's also a convenient way to hop to the top or bottom of the functions, especially if you get lost in bigger code bases. Okay, so I want to do a text replacement with a certain range of text. So what I'm going to do is enter visual mode again by hitting V. I'm going to hit Shift %, which moves me, and during that movement, since I'm in visual mode, performs the selection. So I've selected my text, and now I want to issue a command. So I'll hit colon, and the command I want to do is a replacement. So I'm going to do a search with S, and replace foo with bar, and do a global, so with whatever I have selected, replacement. Okay, and then I hit enter to execute this command. And you'll notice that 21 substitutions took place here, all within the bar function, and did not do any replacement here. So that's a quick way to refactor your code. Okay, now I'm at line 46 here, and it's a little bit inconvenient because I want to see some more of my program. And you might have noticed that your eyes are following the bottom of the screen. So I'm going to hit ZZ really quickly, and that'll center the cursor around wherever I currently am, or rather the screen around my cursor. So let me show another example of this with Shift H, which moves us to the top of the screen, ZZ, and then we're centered in this range. So if you're moving around in your code, wherever you happen to be, and let's move somewhere down here, you can just click ZZ and it'll center around. I use this all the time, and it's a really handy trick to quickly navigate your code and be able to see the code around you. Okay, so this is a great program here. Let's go ahead and save it. And what if we want to move to our main function without having to move sort of one screen at a time? Because previously we were using commands like GG to move to the top, G to move to the bottom, or our commands like Shift H, Shift M, or Shift L to move to different parts of the screen, and then ZZ to center around the screen. But I can also find and search within my text. We've learned how to search and replace, but what if we just want to find something and move to that position? So again, I'm going to move us to the top of our screen here with GG, and I'll just hit slash and then type in the name of a function, such as our main function, and hit enter, and we will see at the bottom left corner, main has been highlighted. I'll hit ZZ again, so we're centered around that function. I'll hit slash and then bar, and we'll again search for this, and ZZ to center around this function. So this is another quick way to navigate through your code without having to point and click or open up any dialogues. Another reason why I really love Vim. So while we're learning about some navigation tricks, let me go ahead and move us down a few lines here. And let's say I want to change one of these print messages here. So let's change this first one. Now, if you notice, when I hit the L key, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 key presses I had to make. That's too many in my opinion. So let me move back to the start of the line here and show you some navigation tricks within a line. So I can use the E key to move to the end of the current word, B to move back, W to move at the end of the word to the next word. Then I can make my changes. Again, with a matching parenthesis, I can use Shift, and in the C language at least, this will move me between the parentheses, so I can quickly move around. I can also hit 0 to move to the start of the line, or the $sign to move at the end. So depending on which part of this text I want to replace, I can quickly move around. Let's go ahead and replace some of these bars with something else. I'm going to this time hit Ctrl+V, which opens the visual block mode. I'm going to hit E to move to the end of this word, and I'll use J to move down. And you'll notice that I'm just selecting a block here. Let's go ahead and enter command mode, do another search for the phrase bar, And let's replace this with new text. We'll just write something in here and do the same global replacement and enter. So now I've changed just a block of code rather than having to select the whole line. Again, if you need this type of precision, this is a way you can do it in Vim. Okay, we've made some changes, so I'm going to hit colon and then W to write the file, but this time I also want to quit. So I'll hit WQ. Okay, so now we're out of Vim. Let's compile and see if we've made any mistakes. We have not, so we're good to go. I'm going to open up Vim again and open our new file. And my file is starting to get relatively crowded. I've got all these functions here, like foo, bar, and maybe I want to refactor my code and move these to a different file. But I do want to see what I'm doing. So wouldn't it be nice if I could open up multiple windows? And in Vim, the good news is you can. So I'm going to move to the top of my screen here, just to center us here. And I'm going to hit colon and do a vertical split, so vsplit. This will open up another Vim buffer here, and it'll open the same file by default if I don't specify anything else. But what I really want to do is create a new file. So I'm going to hit colon and edit a new file and call this functions. Functions.c for now is fine. And I want to copy these functions over to my other file. So now I'm in Vim. I'm on this side of my window, and I'll go ahead and save this file by hitting colon to enter the command mode, and then W to write the file. But how do I move between windows? Well, to do this, I hit Ctrl+W and then an arrow key to the window pane within Vim that I'd like to move to. Ctrl+W, then L, or to the left to move to the left side or to the right side. Okay, let's go ahead and copy these functions from our original new file.c into our functions. So I'm going to move to line 2 with :2, enter visual mode with Shift-V, and select as much of the code that I want to select. So I can use the % to move to the end here of this function. Maybe I want to move down a little bit here, so I'll use J, the % again to move to the next function, move over one more, the % again to select all this function, and then this time I just want to cut instead of paste. So I'm going to hit X for cut, escape to enter my mode, Ctrl+W, move to the left side, and then in order to paste, let me go ahead and hit P to paste. Okay, and just like that, our functions are on the other side. I'll hit colon and W, and we have our functions now saved in a C file. Okay, so let's move to our other window pane, Ctrl+W and to the right, and let's move up here. Okay, so now we want to include this file here. Well, I'm going to skip the C portion of this. We probably want to move this code into a header file, include that, and add header guards. And this is a Vim tutorial, not a C tutorial. But that's what I want to show you for this sort of masterclass on all the essential skills that you need in Vim. How to work in multiple panes, how to create new files, how to save files, and navigate your code quickly, and perform some common operations like search and replacing text. The last thing I'll show you is you can split your windows in one more way, doing colon and just a split, which will do a horizontal split if I also want to open this file in another window, or perhaps have this same file open 2 different times and be able to navigate the code in 2 different places. Say if I'm comparing or want to see 2 functions at the same time. As I modify this file on the right side here, and I'm going to hit the D key to delete this text, and then E to remove the whole word. So I'm performing the deleting command all the way to the end of the word, and then I'll add some new text here. And watch closely as on the top right pane, the left window is also modified. Also modified. And I'll hit exit and save. So this is another cool trick that you can do in Vim. Now there's all sorts of Vim functionality that you can do. And if you want any help, you can type in :H and then a particular function, such as split, and it will tell you more about these commands and what you can do with them. I'm going to go ahead and quit this help and quit all of the windows here. :Q, :Q. Oh, I didn't save. So I can either overwrite this change by doing Q and then the exclamation, which will quit without saving. But let's go ahead and write and quit with WQ. And then I will quit this window as well. And we are done. Now Vim comes with a great tool called the VIM Tutor, which also provides a lot of help. And it's a great way to learn some of the Vim essentials. And it starts with that H, K, and L to move the cursors around. Use this as a resource to help. And there's lots of other great resources that can help you. I'm going to go ahead and quit this for now and leave that as your introduction to Vim. Now, there is one more thing that I want to show you in New File, which I think is essential to text editors. And let's go ahead and say I make some changes here, and I want to undo these. So this will be the last thing that I show you. If I hit Escape, I can hit U to undo and Ctrl+R to redo. Vim keeps a change list for these different things that you might want to do so that you can go back and forth, undo with U, redo with Ctrl+R. So that's the last thing I want to show you. I'm going to quit this without saving. Q, I'll try, and then it'll warn me that I didn't save. So no write since last change. Add exclamation to override. So let's go ahead and override that. And we have our 2 files in this example, and gave you a little crash course into Vim and the essentials that I think everybody needs to know when starting to use Vim. Thank you for joining me.